Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all for being in the live, man.
Welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to FanDuel, the official sponsor of the Sports Coma. We up in this thing. Y'all hit that like button and the subscribe button as we continue to go. Now, listen, fam. I'm going to go over some news note item on this episode of the Coma, the Wednesday stream, and just doing some reacting, or rather, just kind of looking over the Saints, making some moves. We did see them add a few pieces, but this is actually a smart move for the Saints to do in terms of re-signing the safety Julian Blackmon. Now, I remember when Tyrann Mathieu retired early last year, the Saints brass immediately pivoted to look to see if they could find some help at the safety position. Julian Blackmon was a guy that came through via the free agency way, and he stepped right on in. And a lot of people didn't know too much about Julian Blackmon. He came from the Colts. He was a pretty decent defensive back, and he was productive in parts. But then the issue with Julian Blackmon was the fact that he had an injury issue that we wanted him to shake. Well, he was balling as he came into the preseason. He was lined up for that safety. I mean, as soon as Julian Blackmon got here, he took off in practices, the camps, preseason. He was looking good, and ultimately he got hurt. That kind of ended his season, and then he was done for the rest of the year. Never seen him, which opened up a pathway for Jonas Sanker to step right in. And Jonas Sanker, man, just took that position and made it his own. So the Saints kind of pivoted and went back and re-signed Julian Blackmon again to provide depth. Now, of course, getting him back does, it helped with the veteran depth. He is familiar with Staley's system. He has some success there. But ultimately, we know that Alante Taylor is a guy that could be on the move. He's an unrestricted free agent. The Saints are going to take the posture of allowing free agency to dictate his market value. And that's fine if they do that. That's all good. That's a smart measurement to do for the black and gold. But with Julian Blackmon, let's kind of go over this article right here. Shout out to the Saints Wire for putting up some good game right here as we get into it. So let's kind of go right into this article right here. And they're talking about it. The Saints made the right call, according to what the writer was saying. Saints made their first big move of the offseason on Tuesday, and it was a good one. The Saints announced that the team had signed Julian Blackmon to a one-year extension for the 2026 season. New Orleans Saints VP General Manager Slick Mickey Loomis saying, "Oh, I know, Blackmon, we're signing him back." So they got him a one-year contract extension, 6 feet 202, 6-year NFL vet, originally a third-round pick, 85th overall by the Colts out of Utah back in 2020, and 6 years with the Colts, 2020, 2024, and the Saints in 25. The Utah native played 67 regular season games with 63 starts, had a career total of 300 tackles, 224 of which was solo, a sack and a half, 10 picks, including 1 return for a touchdown, 22 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 7 special teams tackles. And Julian Blackmon, like I said, good, solid defensive back, but the injuries have been an issue throughout his career. But in a depth perspective, to have a Julian Blackmon backing up a Jonas Sanker, I like that, man. I think he can deal with that kind of thing. So the Saints made a good move, no doubt about it. In one postseason contest in 2020 as a rookie, he started the game for the Colts, had 5 solo stops. In 2025, Blackmon started the season opener for the black and gold and recorded 7 tackles, 4 of which was solo, 1 pass breakup before being sidelined for the remainder of the year with a shoulder injury. In 24, Blackmon opened all 16 games he played for the Colts, recorded 86 tackles, 6 or 2 of which were solo, a split sack, 3 picks, and 4 pass breakups, 1 fumble recovery to tie the team lead in picks and takeaways with 4. This is arguably the right move. The Saints brought Blackmon to help replace Tyrann Mathieu, but he was only able to play in one game in 2025. The safety room is loaded heading into the offseason, arguably all set with Blackmon, Jonas Sinker, and Justin Reed. Last offseason was an argument where Blackmon was the top overall safety available in free agency based on his talent and use. He's still only 27 years old, and now the Saints get a boost early in offseason. Now, it does help, too, to be honest with you, that they do bring Blackmon into the fold. It really does, right? Because Blackmon played, and like I said, he was a very decent, above decent safety for the Saints. He was slated to start before the injury robbed him of the season. But you know how it go. It was a blessing in disguise, because what ultimately happened was the Saints went to Jonas Sinker, and Jonas Sinker made the position his own. And we got great value out of just a fantastic class this season. And hopefully we can kind of build upon what they did. So, and it's interesting going forward. Now, let's kind of just talk about that. Let's kind of linger in that situation and talk about the secondary, if you please. Here's a look at it from a depth perspective at the Saints defense. As you can look, if we could just kind of focus our looks right here upon the secondary room with all these guys right here. Now, ultimately, the Saints had a very decent cornerback situation. Kool-Aid McKinstry, Alontae Taylor, Quincy Riley, all those guys stepped up and played. Jonas Sinker, Justin Reed, and then we had decent depth behind those guys like Isaac Yiadom. Started early, kind of struggled, was replaced by Quincy Riley late. And then, of course, the Saints did pick up other players. Terrell Burgess was also interesting, a good player in practice and on the scout team. When he got an opportunity to get in the game, Terrell Burgess made some plays. Elliot Davison had some plays in the preseason. Rajon Wright been kind of lading around. Then you had Jaden Price, another guy that the Saints had off the practice squad. So we got a few guys off the practice squad. Beanie Bishop Jr. was another guy they added as well. Now, with that being said, there could be some move. Now, Alontae Taylor is the biggest chip right there in terms of the Saints. Now, we do know Double D and Cam Jordan. I ultimately think the Saints will get a team-friendly and player-friendly deal for both those players for a 1-year add-on for what was going on. I think they can definitely arrange that. That's no problem for the Saints brass. But looking at what we did in terms of Alontae Taylor, with them allowing the defense to dictate their market, getting Julian Blackmon back helps out in many ways, because it provides them with an additional veteran safety helping out behind Justin Reed and Jonas Sinker right there. We also still have Jordan Howden. So that's Reed, Sinker, Howden, and Blackmon. And I think Hugo Amadi is a free agent, and Terrell Burgess, I think he still will be on the team. So we still have a few guys there. Now, in terms of the Alontae Taylor situation, that will be addressed at a later date. In terms of what will happen, we won't totally know what happens with Alontae Taylor until free agency. Like I said, I think the Saints will allow that to dictate the value. And the Saints can go in a multitude of different ways. They can either sign Alontae Taylor. That was a question I asked to the previous situation. Some people said, Q, I will have to cut him loose if he's asking for too much. And then again, maybe we could pivot and go somewhere else. It all depends what your perspective is. Perhaps if they're looking for somebody in a draft at 8th, you could possibly have a Caleb Downs there. I think Caleb Downs would probably be the number 1 pick if Alontae Taylor, the situation is not addressed in free agency. Remember, it's free agency, then a draft. So I think the Saints are going to be diligent in how they deal with the situation around Alontae Taylor. But having a guy in a secondary to bring him and Julian Blackmon back, and then, of course, have Jordan Howden, Justin Reed, and Jonas Sinker, the safety room is looking good. It really is looking good, and I think the Saints are looking to improve upon the secondary, which was actually a bright spot for the defense overall as well. So anyway, let's keep this thing moving, man. Y'all put y'all thoughts in the comment section. Also, feel free to hit the like button as well as we keep the train moving here on the Sports Coma. Let's talk running back, shall we? This is another article put up here by the Sports Illustrated. Talks about the Saints would be a perfect fit for Tyler Allgeier. Now, listen, I've talked about this before. I've said it before. The Atlanta Falcons have several free agents. Kyle Pitts is going to be a guy that's going to get some looks at free agency. He could be priced out of their range. He's been there for the last, 4 or 5 years for the team. Had a phenomenal year this year, was a big part, really stepped up big to help him toward the back end on a winning streak. But in terms of Tyler Allgeier, who has been a good complement back to Bijan Robinson, he's hitting the market, and he's always been a very stellar running back. And he could be a guy that is a good fit for the Saints in free agency, depending on where the Saints would, what their decision would be. Now, of course, we have Alvin Kamara on a 1-year deal, Kendre Miller on a 1-year deal. We have Devin Neal in the second year of his rookie contract. And, of course, Audric Estime could be re-signed as depth for the fourth position. But adding Tyler Allgeier, a guy, there all the Saints could focus on hitting the draft up, maybe getting a Jeremiah Price or a Allen from out of Penn State. Either one of them guys to me would be good. Price early would be a phenomenal back, but Allen late in the draft would also be a good call as well. But regardless how you go, you're going to have to address the position. The Saints have a lot to be excited for about the future. Tyler Shuck seemingly ready for the team's franchise quarterback after putting together a strong second half of the season. Olave found his love for football again and was one of the best under center. But Alvin Kamara slowly heading toward the end of his career. Doesn't have very many years left in the NFL. It seems like the Saints need to begin looking for replacements for their veteran star. While they could be eyeing a running back in the draft, the Saints could also dive into free agency and find the missing piece. Now, John Sigler of Saints Wire linked the Saints to Atlanta Falcons' Tyler Allgeier free agency offseason, while Kamara getting older, a free agent addition like this will make plenty of sense. Now, listen, Tyler Allgeier has been giving us headaches for years here as a complement running back. He's had some phenomenal games against the New Orleans Saints. He's a guy that can catch out the backfield. He can run inside, outside. He can also pick up blocks for you. He's a good player, a steady player. It's not much of an injury history tied to Tyler Allgeier, and he's a pretty durable running back. But, and like I said, the market for running backs, I don't expect it to be extremely expensive, but if you're going to get somebody from Atlanta, I'm not mad if you pick up Tyler Allgeier, right? Keep him inside the NFC South, have him switch colors, taking off the black and red and put on the black and gold. Now, Tyler Allgeier, he's 26. He turns 26 in April. Hasn't gotten to the point in the Atlanta Falcons backfield since his rookie year when he averaged 5 yards a carry. He remained efficient as a change of pace complement to Bijan Robinson. He still has a lot of tread on the tires, could help Saints improve in the red zone, where he scored 7 touchdowns this year. That's big. We can definitely use a power back like that, but he's not just an effective goal line runner. He has a gift of squaring up and powering through. But he's also a guy that can break tackles. He uses his stiff arm. He catches out the backfield. And like I said, he'll be a great addition to help out with in the backfield with the Saints. I have absolutely no issue with this at all. That's as many touchdowns as the Saints manage as a team. Allgeier was a very good goal line back for the Falcons this season. In the offense with Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and Drake London, Allgeier was still able to find the end zone nearly 10 times. His production would only increase if he was the focal point of an offense. The Saints could sign Allgeier and play him along Kamara for the next year or two when Kamara retires or leaving free agency. Allgeier could take over as a lead back, pair this with a potential late round pick, and the Saints will have a much better running back room next year than they had this season before. So this is the thing. In terms of the Bijan Robinson and Tyler Allgeier thing, he's ready. I don't think he's a featured back, 26 years old. I think he's still, in my opinion, if you're going to use him, if your main running back is out, but he's a combo back. We want to be able to mix our runners up, so to speak. And the question mark is, if the Saints pivot to Tyler Allgeier, then what we do with Kendre Miller? And that's the whole thing. Does Kendre Miller, it's a big question around Kendre Miller. The Saints have no incentive to release Kendre Miller. It's not like he's breaking the bank, right? They can allow him to play out his contract. We know AK-41 is also dealing with some issues, and staying healthy, but we expect him to finish out his career as a Saint. And I think he was almost made it back for the end of the season. I think he'll be 100% healthy for the upcoming season. And having him healthy, having Kendre Miller healthy, all of our runners will be healthy. But like I said, to add Tyler Allgeier can only be a plus. As long as we don't get him expensive, I think he can start in spots for you if some of your guys are not there, but I do appreciate the fact that you could utilize him in the offense because, Taysom Hill is going to be gone, and the Saints use Taysom Hill as that thumper running back type when Kendre Miller was out. Perhaps Tyler Allgeier could be that guy. But like I said, we don't want to get overly complicated with Kellen Moore. You've seen what happened last year, early in the year, and even though that was his first year, he kind of got flustered on what to do with all of those players. He had to really whittle down his players. Like he had to literally get rid of when he traded for Divine Valley, questions was asked like, dude, what are you doing? Why aren't we using Divine Valley and you traded multiple picks, late rounders, to get the guy and then not put him in the position to start? He just, and anybody said, well, he's not ready. Well, Brandon Cooks wasn't ready either. Brandon Cooks didn't know what the hell he was doing out there. He couldn't block. It just didn't work. So getting Valley eventually going in there, he didn't get rid of Valley till they way later settled with Cooks to get him out of the way to provide reps. So he had issues finding the proper balance and guys that didn't fit. Wasn't a surprise to us because we knew it was a bad call. We said Brandon Cooks shouldn't be the guy to be his, but they're apt to make mistakes. And like I said, he did not know the team like you knew the team. You knew the team. You were kept saying over and over again, we said the same thing, that the Saints need big wide receivers, where they eventually did land Valley before the start of the regular season. They got this other guy, Moose, as well, and added him to the team. So it's good to see there. And I'm pretty sure they'll pick up somebody in the draft as well to add more speed and possible size to the team. By the way, y'all can check out for my Patreon and YouTube membership families. We have the second mock draft available with video breaking down these players. Real phenomenal mock. And we covered and pick up answered a lot of questions and fill a lot of needs on that third mock, man. It was a good mock, man. So y'all, that's available for our Patreon and YouTube membership family. All right. So anyway, I'm for Tyler Allgeier at the right price. He's 26 years old, a good goal line runner. We can't really rely on none of the runners that we have. If the Saints pick up early on Jeremiah Love, if he falls to him at the 8 position, if the Saints remain at 8 and Love is on the board, then I say you put Love and Shuck together. And that is something because you get a phenomenal running back. He'll be a 5 to 10 year player for you. He can do it all. You also, you pair him there, and then you would have to go about the business. But I think the Saints really would donate financial resources in free agency of plugging the holes on the offensive line. I think they'll try to go after a veteran guard on that left guard. They'll have, once they free up this money off the cap, the Saints will then pivot. And I think they'll spend some money in free agency landing a starting level left guard to go along with the rest of those guys, because you got 2 bookends there. You can go in the draft and pick you up a guard if you want to. You probably will find one. I don't see a first round guard there. I see, maybe toward the back of the first round, close to the second round. You got a few guys there from Penn State. I own a Pregnon from Oregon. There's a few other guys. But my thing is this. You wouldn't do yourself a disservice by picking up a good left guard there to plug in. And also the Saints need to add some more depth. Now, in the draft, you can draft somebody, and I would dare say have that guy compete with Cesar Ruiz. And like I said, I just offered the Kellen Moore this situation. Nobody wanted Ruiz in a trade. They didn't see his value. They see the tape like we do. We still have him on multiple years here. And my thing is, open up the right guard position for competition. You get what I'm saying? If you draft a guy, let him compete with Cesar Ruiz for that starting spot. Open up that right guard position for competition. We know the left guard position will have somebody there new. Open up the right guard for a position as well. Right. Open that position up and let's have at it. That's what I call for. Let's go ahead on and open up that position, because in the end, I think that will help the Saints overall from an offensive perspective. We need offensive competition there. Open that position and let the guy press Cesar Ruiz for the job. Maybe that'll get, because he, like last year and the last few years, we finally got these people to see that Ruiz out there getting burnt and beat. They were pretending like it was something else. Now you heard Mekaluma sit up there. He admitted he wants to see more out of Cesar Ruiz. So we got them where we want him. Now he has to be able to turn the heat up by giving this guy a competition and force him to show what he can do here or be beat out by the other guy. That's what I'm looking at, because the offensive line has to improve. Tyler Allgeier will be fully healthy for the 2026 season. Kelvin Banks is going to be good. Despite having his issues, I'm pretty sure when the games matter, those two bookends will be ready to go. McCoy been out for half the damn year, so he should be good to go to start the year off. And we need to kind of bring Luke Fortner back. We need to add some more depth behind at the right guard position. We still have Torrey Simpkins and a few other people there as well. But we still need to bring in depth along that offensive line. A lot of people there. I mean, well, they still have Asim Richards. We'll see. Dylan Radunz will be a free agent. Torrey Simpkins is still there. Landon Young coming off IR. I think he's a free agent. Nick Saldiveri, who just I don't know what to think about that guy. And there are a few guys like they pick up Easton Kilty, Xavier Truss, all these guys are here. But Barry Wesley, but Asim Richards. But we need to really kind of go into free agents. Because remember, toward the back end, before the season started, that's when they made these moves. They made the trade with the Cowboys to get Asim Richards. They claimed Xavier Truss off the waiver wire from the Texans. And this type of thing they had quickly to add depth. Now with an extended free agency period and clarity on where they need to focus on, they can kind of focus resources. And you might see a couple of maybe 2 or 3 signings happening there, and maybe a draft pick to add to it to kind of put competitions there. You get what I'm talking about? But it's all good, man, and that's what I'm looking for to happen at that position. But in terms of the running back position, dealing with Tyler Allgeier, I'm all for it if the cost is right, because all it does is add insurance to a beat up running group. It's having Tyler Allgeier there, especially in the goal line packages. He's way more durable than what we've seen from the backs over the last couple of years. So getting him in here, he definitely can help out, and he blocks well. He's very smart. He runs well, still young enough, and can help you in ways. So maybe a 2-year deal with him or something like that could really help, with the Saints running back room. And anytime we get something like that, man, I think that would be a really good plus. All right, y'all hit that like button as we get going. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate y'all for being in the stream, man. Big Q. Sports Coma in this thing. Hit that like button and the share button. Let's get into this article right here. This is from ESPN Southwest Louisiana. They had this 2 Saints named to the all-rookie team, right? The Pro Football Writers Association named this 2025 all-rookie team this past Tuesday. And the pair of New Orleans Saints made the cut. Quarterback Tyler the Shuckinator Shuck and offensive tackle Kelvin Banks Jr. were 2 players to represent the black and gold. How about that? This is the first time multiple Saints have been named to the all-rookie team since 2019 season, where 3 players were selected. The first 2 offensive Saints have been selected there since 2017. Shuck was the team's 2nd-round pick. Didn't get his start until week 10 when the Saints traveled to the Rams. In 9 starts, the 40th overall pick posted a 5-4 record, which is phenomenal for a rookie to do, including 4-game win streak toward the end of the season, and finished the rookie season completing almost 68% of his passes, 3rd highest among qualifying rookies of all time. His stats are just amazing. Over 2,300 yards, 10 touchdowns against 6 picks. Shuck also had 186 yards on 45 carries and reached pay dirt 3 times. Now, what's interesting about Tyler Shuck, we reacted to the interview with Teron Armstead. Shout out to T-Stead. And the temperament of Tyler Shuck when talked about what he did, he even discounted his plays like, okay, it's still a lot to do, man. We finished at the back of the NFC South. Whoop-de-doo. He was, and that's what's his mentality going forward. He also talked about the fact that, hey, man, I need to do better. We couldn't have had that many sacks, all this kind of stuff. Because, he admitted twice on the broadcast that he holds on to the ball too much, and I need to fix that. That's accountability. Even T-Stead said, man, I like this guy. This guy right here, he's accountable. You don't hear the last quarterback we paid all that money to. That guy was running from accountability. You had to force it on him. I ain't do nothing. I ain't throw that hospital ball. Big Q did that shit. It was just right. But it's refreshing to have a young quarterback that understands, hey man, even though what I did was record breaking and put me in some really important talent, that doesn't mean anything. We hadn't won anything yet. He said that, in so many words. We haven't won anything yet. We haven't won the NFC South yet. We haven't gotten to the playoffs yet. And I love that guy's temperament, man. And that's what it's going to take to make it. It's going to take that kind of stuff to make it. All right, and also to talk about it, Banks was taken 9th overall by the Saints and was a team starting offensive tackle. The former Texas Longhorns consensus first-team All-American and Outland Trophy and Lombardi Award winner in 2025 also led the offensive unit in snaps with over 1,000 of them suckers, man. 1,100 out of 1,120 full snaps, and really he played right up until the last of the season, but like I said, he had some rough times, but overall, you can see that guy is, when it goes down, is probably going to be one of the best offensive linemen we ever had. One of them. I can see some high potential in Kelvin Banks Jr. He's going to be terrific. And even you heard T. Stead and Shuck talk about him knowing the plays and helping the wide receivers, telling them what to do. He studies the playbook. And that's what it's going to take to win. So the full 2025 all-rookie team, offensive, they got Tyler Shuck with the first unit there with the offense, followed by Trevayon Henderson, the fantastic running back, as well. Ashton Genty. You got Emeka there with Ted McMillan. Tyler Warren, the tight end from the Colts. Kelvin Banks is the tackle, blindside tackle. Mambo from the Jets is at the other tackle. Greg Zabel, Tyler Booker, and Jonah Monaheim rounds out the offense. And then you look at the defense, Abdul Carter from Penn State, the giant player, doing really good. Abdul Carter and James Pierce Jr. are phenomenal players. We knew Pierce was going to be a beast. So was Carter. Those guys, Mason Graham and Deion Walker, are the interior tackles. The linebackers, Corey Swessinger was phenomenal for the Browns. Jahad Campbell for the Eagles. Linebacker today, Buckingham for the Ravens. The defensive backs, Will Johnson, Jacob Parrish, Nick Ivanowari, and Xavier Watts from the Falcons. Special teams kicker, Andy Borgalis from the Patriots, and punter Jeremy Crawshaw from the Broncos. And you can see the kick return is Shamir Dickey is there, as well as the ST is Carson Broner from the Steelers. So there you go on the special teams, and that's the all-rookie team. So two of the Saints, even though it could have been 3 Saints or more. I mean, Tyler Shuck, obviously. You want to see that, but I guess Xavier Watts had 5 picks for the Falcons. I guess he would be the only guy else that you would consider placing into the rookie with Jonas Sanker, but Watts beat him out with the picks and had a better year. So it is what it is. Anyway, man, that's simply what it is there for that, man. Shout out to them guys for kind of breaking down. This is some more positive stuff to talk about for our players this past season, right? And also, let's take a look at this article right here. Saints predicted to land generational prospect for Cam Jordan. And we'll see how that all kind of works itself out, because the reality at the end of the day is that, Cam, we want Cam to come back. Cam has been on multiple podcasts talking about him wanting to return and come back. He's made no secret about it that he wants to play. And everybody's like, yeah, some people saying, hey, Q, we need to kind of put these escort these guys to retirement and focus on building the team. And you might, some people could see what you're talking about right there. But the really interesting thing is when you get players like this, usually you don't see this, right? You don't usually see that. And what I mean by that is you don't usually see players in their late 30s, right? Getting into their late 30s that have had the kind of years that we've seen from Cam Jordan and Demario Davis. Let's just be honest, man. Cam led the team with 10.5 sacks ahead of Chase Young. Davis had 140 plus tackles. He's never done that, and he had a career high tackles in his long, illustrious career. That's never happened before for a personal best. So if they feel like, hey, man, as long as we're performing this well, and really Cam went into the offseason healthy, so did Demario Davis. Now, they had some bumps and bruises that he probably ain't tell you about, but nothing severe enough to stop them from playing the game, right? So with that being said, is if you have a Demario Davis or a Cam Jordan and they that successful and playing at a high level and they're willing to do that because they feel like this Saints team could make a playoff push, because Cam wants a Super Bowl. Cam wants a Super Bowl. Double D wants a Super Bowl. So these guys want a Super Bowl, and they thinking like, hey, man, next year our defense bring it back, we add some pieces, we can make a run at it. So the question is, do the Saints say, okay, we can have a quantum leap year? And what I'm saying is there are other teams in the league that made the leap in a year. The New England Patriots come to mind that are in the AFC Championship game right now. We know Coach Payton, it took him a couple of years to build up to getting what he needed to do to get that team to where it is. But how about the Patriots? How about the Patriots? The Patriots take the former Titans coach who kind of did some positive things with them. He goes over there in 1 year, and they have some drafts and some signing and all this kind of stuff. And look at the Patriots. The Patriots are back to looking pretty Patriot-y, from a football standpoint. These guys are in the AFC Championship game, one game away from the Super Bowl in the post-Tom Brady era. So we it probably to take forever for the Patriots to get back. Most certainly nobody's seen them one game away from the playoffs. I mean, a Super Bowl. But we've seen turnarounds happen before. The Patriots are a more recent and more illustrious version of it. We've seen it happen with the Texans when they first got their first coach. We've seen it happen in Jaden Daniels' first year where they excelled and got into the postseason. Of course, he got hurt this year. They couldn't repeat that success. Things were kind of different. But we've seen recent examples of teams turn it around, right? Bounce back and go to another level in the final year. Could the Saints be a team that's ready to make a quantum leap forward? Now, what will make that happen? We had a solid rookie draft. We had a solid free agency period, to be honest with you. We had some guys that we signed, and they made some really solid trades to help out as well. What I'm talking about, you're talking about them bringing in Akeem Richards. He wasn't fantastic, but he was solid, especially toward the back when some of those backups were able to repeat in back-to-back games. They got a rhythm. They started understanding. And those reps are going to only help them going into next year to be even stronger backups. So a lot of the starters were out. The backups step in, they learn a system, and they become better backups because of the live game reps help power them up, right? And the Saints were able to put on some streaks and do some positive stuff. Now it's time for reinforcement of the position. We know that the offensive line is somewhere that needs to be taken care of. And that is something that they'll end up having to do. But Cam Jordan knows what the Saints, they have an idea from an offensive standpoint, what they want to do with this team in free agency and the draft moving forward. And if the Saints have a solid signing period in free agency where they address needs. Let's say, for instance, instead of going into the draft to pick up an offensive lineman to fill the left guard role, let's say the Saints sign one of the one or two top offensive guard in the free agency cycle. They'll have to rework contracts because they, as it stands, hold on, let me take a look at it right now. Let me get that over the cap figure for y'all, man, and let me look at it. Y'all hit that like button as we do this, man. Shout out to y'all for being in the stream, man. Much love. And shout out to the Patreon champions and the YouTube membership family, man. Like I said, we got the third mock draft up for our Patreon people, not to mention the second part of the oil war went live on Tuesday at 5 o'clock on our Patreon channel. It's breaking down that whole oil game that's going on with the U.S. I put all kind of research in it, showed some videos, kind of gave some enlightenment. It was some good work, and we got a third part coming out soon too, and other things that we'll be talking about on that particular stream. So anyway, Yeah, shout out to you guys, man. Y'all making it happen for us. As you can see, all the improvements that we making here on PPR, man. Excuse me, on the PPR. I got all kind of stuff going on the Sports Coma. But anyway, let me give you all this right here, and then we'll bounce back to that article. Right here is the money check for the Saints. As you can see right now, as of today, the Saints are 20.3 mil in the red currently. And as you can see, a lot of these salaries they'll have to rework. The highest salary coming up in 2026 is the Chase Young deal. They'll have to rework all of that. They'll have to rework the Chase Young deal, extend Cam Jordan, and that'll kind of cut down some of that money, but give Cam Jordan an extra year, Demario Davis an extra year. But they're going to cut down, they're going to restructure Chase Young's contract, Alvin Kamara's contract, Carl Granderson, Eric McCoy. They'll eventually extend Chris Olave's deal. That'll add more money. They're restructuring Cesar Ruiz, Jawan Johnson, Justin Reed, Pete Werner, and guys like that. Divine Gacho could, and then of course you get into cut candidates, Isaac Yiadom and Divine Gacho. Do you keep hold of those guys? Yiadom's making 3.6 mil. Do you restructure or you just go in a different direction? Because I think if they take a guy in the draft, Isaac Yiadom is not. I don't think I ain't gonna say he's not worth it, but I think we can find better value. Well, he make it 2.5. Isaac Yiadom make it 2.5 million as a fourth cornerback for you. I think we can do better. Maybe find somebody else, but we'll see. And Divine Gacho, man, didn't look good in his first year with the Saints. He was pushed from a starting position to a backup role. Guys went before him, and that's not good enough for a guy. And he's making $6.4 million this year, so he'll be a restructure guy. Could be a cut candidate. We'll see what happens there. But the reason why I'm showing that is just the money is just to be obvious that the mindset for the Saints is, what's the approach? Are we going to take a 2 to 3 year build to get the team to where we want? Or will we seen in the later half of the year or half of the year in those 9 games is enough to go all in right quick? We got Cam, we got Demario Davis, because that could decide on how fast the Saints act in free agency. You get what I'm saying? Because it has to be the mindset. If Cam and Double D are going, the Saints can kind of slide or glide into a situation where they just stay what they're doing. You know, we're just going to sign guys in the draft. We're going to kind of try to keep the money down. We're going to restructure and do this sort of thing. But if Cam and Demario come back, what a lot of people anticipating, do the Saints then kind of pick up their steps, so to speak, and get really into it where they be like, hey, man, we got Double D back for one more year, Cam back for another year. Let's swing for the fences here. I know we just got this going, but we got Shuck, we got Chris Olave, we got Alvin with 1 year left on his deal. Let's see if we can kind of go in right quick. Let's kind of not go in on a last year type situation, but what I'm saying is kind of step it up a bit as opposed to take more of a patient approach and working through the draft, taking the best offensive guard in the draft in the second round. Doing this slow build type thing. You get what I'm saying? Like young teams seem to do. Do the Saints say, hey, we're going to go into free agency, get that left guard position, get the one of the first or the second or first or the second best guy. We're going to get one of those guys in the draft. We're going to, add some more help. We're going to sign Luke Fortner. We're going to draft the guy in free agency. In the draft to compete with Cesar Ruiz. You see what I'm saying? Because really the Saints defense is adequate. They'll have to see about Alontae Taylor there to bring him back if he's expensive or not. And then, of course, if they have a solid free agency, then they can just pick the best players in the draft. And I think that's what a lot of teams like to do. At times, it's like see if they can meet the demand in free agency. Get a couple of offensive linemen, depth-wise for the offensive line to protect my second-year quarterback. Get a valuable running back to add into the running back room, Tyler Allgeier, something like that. Bring him in there. Maybe get a veteran wide receiver to compete in the room with the rest of some of these unproven guys. Add there. Pick up, a veteran tight end because we're gonna need to get a tight end as well. They'll have more than enough money to go into free agency and pick up quality veterans. either top tier or second tier guys that can fill some needs, because the Saints don't have a lot of needs offensively speaking. They just need to kind of beef up some of the depth, especially on offensive line. They got a hole at the left guard position, competition for the right guard. Fortner re-signed to back up Cesar Ruiz, and some help at the tackle position. Backup tight end, another running back, whether in the draft or free agency, to kind of balance that room. Maybe finding a fullback or a tight end type that can do the blocking, like we've seen Matavo doing. He was playing as fullback, tight end. They were doing this kind of stuff. You know, we do have Mason Pline. He'll be healthy. So there were a couple of guys that we're not thinking about that the Saints have on staff that they did bring that got hurt, that could be possible guys, right? We know when we start talking about, we know Audric Estime should be brought back. There's a lot of talent in the wide receiver room. Mason Tipton is there. Devon Belly, he'll be happy. We got Trey Palmer, right, who was brought in. So there are guys that the Saints picked up last year that did not see the field. Jalen Polk is going to be special for the Saints wide receiver room. They're going to give him an opportunity to step in there. So don't forget that when we're talking about guys like Carnell Tate and all this kind of stuff. The Saints could very well add a veteran to the mix, but Jalen Polk is seen as a second-round pick for the Saints, even though they dished out a sixth-rounder to get him, right? This is not a guy that was been in the league for 3 or 4 years. This guy just been in the league for, 2 years now? And the Saints basically traded a 6th-round pick for a 2nd-round talent. And he's already working with guys like Tyler Shuck to get better. They was out fishing together. They're going to be working. They saying Shuck was giving them all kind of praise in a Teron Armstead interview, talking about how he working, how he studying film, and how he wants to get back. And if you watch tape on Jalen Polk, the guy is awesome, man. He runs good routes. He got a good attitude. I like Jalen Polk. I like how he'll fit with Devon Valley and Chris Olave in that room. But there are other guys that you add behind him. You got Damon Alford, Bub Means, who coming back from injury. How about Trey Palmer? Trey Palmer is a 24-year-old vet, been with different teams with Tampa Bay. Trey Palmer is a good wide receiver, and he's very fast. So the Saints have guys like that we forget about, right? So we'll see how that all syncs going forward. But man, it's going to be interesting. We do have a couple of them other guys like Mason Pline and all these guys that'll be healthy. Remember, they signed Pline. They were really big on Pline. He got hurt, and he'll be healthy to come and see if we can help in the Saints in that tight end room. So that's another positive to kind of look out for. So there are players that did get hurt that we really want to see step up and kind of step in there. So what's the mentality on that for the New Orleans Saints is what I'm asking. Because of the what they showed in those 9 games, do they kind of get a pep in their step and go veterans in places that they probably would have done with draft picks? So the Saints will rework it. They're going to free up cap, and we'll see how it goes. But how they're moving right now, they're excited about this upcoming season. They signed Julian Blackmon. We covered that early in the broadcast. They brought in Miles Cole. You know, he's a big defensive line. So they're picking up these guys, and they bring them in here. They're making these signings. And they're adding to the team right now. They're not waiting. They're taking a patient approach. They're going to go into free agency. They're going to fill in some of these positions in the offensive line, and they're going to move on. So Cam and Demario Davis is thinking, hey, man, you know, let's go ahead and get that chip. We can press a little hard. The NFC South is wide open. Carolina backed into the playoffs and back right on out the playoffs. Atlanta got a new coach in Kevin Stefanski. It's going to take a minute for him to get that together. He usually ain't good with quarterbacks, so I don't know why they went and picked him up. So, I mean, I see all the Atlanta people. They all excited about Kevin Stefanski. And I'm like, man, you know, I would have probably picked up Mike McDaniels. I'm going to be honest with you. I would have signed Mike if I was the Atlanta. See, that's what that vampire up there doing. That vampire up there, he ain't picking coaches because of the talent. He picking them because he like their blood type. That's what's going on up there with them Atlanta Falcon people. They picking that damn Count Blackula. He ain't picking because of talent. He picking because of blood type. You see what I'm saying? That what the hell going on? I see what's going on. They too blind. They can't see they got a Dracula character running around out there. But I would have been Mike McDaniel probably would have been a good bet for them. They need somebody to run the offense. You got Jeff Ulbrich. You needed an offensive minded coach that has some level of creativity to him. And I like how Mike McDaniel's offenses look. I like how he runs his stuff, and I thought Mike McDaniel would have been a good get. Or at least if you're Stefanski, you go and get Mike McDaniel and bring him in as your offensive coordinator, which more than likely that's not going to happen because he has his own people that he's going to bring in. But despite this, besides that, in Tampa Bay is having some issues. So the Saints, in my perspective, Saints and Carolina are the teams that should be fighting for this NFC South crown next year. And we swept the Panthers this year, and we'll sweep them again this upcoming season. So is this put an extra pep in the step? That's why Cam and them see something special, and they want to participate. But anyway, let's get into the article right here from Sports Illustrated. They talk about the Saints shocked a lot of people with the production down the stretch rather than rolling over and giving up the season. Rookie quarterback Tyler Allgeier helped the Saints to a handful of wins in the second half of the year. As a result, the Saints have a lot of hope moving forward. They have their franchise quarterback, Chris Olave, is one of the better wide receivers. They're slowly getting out of a disastrous cap situation. They're going to need to put together a monster NFL draft haul in the coming months if they want to continue moving in the right direction. The Saints hold the number 8 pick in the draft room, and there are bound to be some talented players on the board, no doubt. Fox Sports put together a mock draft for the upcoming NFL draft with the number 8 pick in the first round. Fox Sports predicted the Saints will take Clemson defensive end Peter Woods. And I'm not mad about Peter Woods' talent. I think he's very talented. I just don't think that's the guy the Saints going to pick up. I mean, why would they go for Peter Woods? I don't understand. Why would Peter Woods be the guy? I mean, Brian Bresee is rehabbing, but he'll be ready for the season. Nate Shepard had a hell of a year. We also get guys like Vernon Brockton. Remember, I mean, they forgetting all of that. Brian Bresee, you're going to take this guy 8th overall. Brian Bresee and Vernon Brockton was the 3rd round pick last year, fill in. They still have Divine Gotcho on the contract and Nate Shepard. Where is this guy going to fit? And then I still believe that the Saints are going to sign guys like Jonah Williams and bring him back to compete in camp because he really balled out for him. Jonathan Bullitt, who really stepped up to the point where he replaced Gotcho. So Jonah Williams, Jonathan Bullard, even they might look at, some other guys bringing him. But outside of that, all I'm saying is, the Peter Woods, I like Peter Woods, how he played this season, but I don't see Peter Woods as no guy the Saints going to take at no 8 position, man. Come on. They ain't taking no interior defensive tackle unless the man Warren Sapp or somebody, and he ain't that. Right? He's very talented, but we already have our Clemson defensive tackle. We already got a guy. While Clemson had a down year, Woods has too many tools for any team looking for a dominant defensive lineman. That's not us. 6'3", 315. He reported to have lean muscle and mass. That's good that he got lean muscle. That ain't got nothing to do with us. We're not looking at. He's also another player was a freshman All-American, posted a dominant follow-up campaign. Potential. He had a career-high 30 tackles with 2 sacks. Woods is a potential generational talent to tackle. He plays an undervalued position, so there's a good chance he falls to the Saints, but he's an elite talent with incredible ability. Value likely to skyrocket after the combine. Freak athlete, speed, and athleticism. Either way, the Saints could be lucky to land him. Cam's career is slowly coming to an end. There's a chance the Saints don't resign him. Even if they do, adding Woods as an eventual replacement in the middle of the defensive line will make a lot of sense. Woods is the type of lineman that can you can build a defense around. I am not getting or going for. I like Pete Woods, but I'm not drafting no Pete Woods with no number 8 overall pick. I'm not doing that, especially if Caleb Downs is available. If Caleb Downs is available and I don't bring Alante Taylor back, you know where I'm going. If Jeremiah Love is available and he's available at 8, I'm taking Jeremiah Love, because at 8 you'll have an opportunity to land a very a generational talent that can be a key piece to build around. A lot of times you want to see if you could pick up somebody that can help your offense. The defense, in my estimation, did a lot. They're still strong, and the defense is going to be good. I think we need help offensively speaking, especially with that 8th overall pick. It would do us a good service if we can't get a Jeremiah Love, or even some people say, what about Carnell Tate for the wide receiver position? or something like to that degree. And we'll see how it changes, because things could change from here to now, meaning that when the season is over with and then you hit the you have the Senior Bowl coming up soon. Some of the seniors from there, their status is going to rise. Then when you get to the NFL Combine, then you'll have that happen. You'll have guys really ratcheting up the mock draft boards based on performances, and then you'll get to these various pro days that would all lead up to the NFL draft in April. So in the end, what I'm saying is that some of these guys' stock will rise and fall depending on performances in the near future. So at the end of the day, Peter Woods is a good interior defensive lineman. He is probably the best interior defensive lineman at the top of the draft. But when it all comes down to it, I don't think we see him as the guy. Not in my books in terms of we're looking at picking up a interior defensive line. We need help in the interior of our offensive line. The defensive line, interior defensive line is in better shape, because they're healthy. Like I say, Vernon Brockton, he's a 3rd-round pick, and even though he didn't play many reps last year, he's still, because of his draft class, he'll be healthy, and they'll be getting him ready for this upcoming year. He was raw. They picked him up, but you'll have Nate Shepard and others, Brian Bresee and all these other guys that will be in the interior of the defensive line. We need help offensively. We need on our line offensively. We need road graders in the guard spots that can help us run the football to take pressure off of our quarterback in his second year. Bottom line, we got to give them all access to that. So anyway, and then let's do our final one right here, fam. Let's do our final article right here. Saints $7 million cornerback linked to Cowboys after 4 years. Saints could lose out one of star defensive players to the Cowboys, right? This is what they're saying. Saints showed a lot of promise last year with Tyler, but they need to be active in the offseason. They're going to make some moves in free agency, especially considering Alontae Taylor is headed to the open market this winter. The Saints need to do everything in their power to retain him, as he looks like a potential star cornerback. If they can't resign Taylor, they're going to need to replace him with different talented back. There are plenty of teams that could pursue Taylor in the coming months, which could be problematic for the Saints. Randy Groris of Dallas SI suggested the Cowboys would be a good fit for Taylor in free agency. The Cowboys desperately need to add secondary help to their secondary, and they're saying that Alontae would fit perfectly with the Cowboys. Dallas learned how important the nickel position is when they let Jordan Lewis leave in free agency. Without him, they've had to move Deron Bland around, which hurt them on the outside. That's why Alontae Taylor can make sense. Like McCreary, Taylor was a 2nd-round pick in 2022. He spent 4 seasons with the Saints, recorded 293 tackles, 7 sacks, and 4 picks in 4 seasons, a pick a year. He's arguably the best or the top slot on the market, and he could fill a major role in Dallas secondary. The Cowboys need to make a move for another defensive back. Taylor would be the perfect fit in free agency. He's expected to sign for less than some of the star cornerbacks on the market, which makes him even more intriguing of an option for the Cowboys. Saints don't have a lot of money. They don't have a lot of money yet, but we will soon, though. So as a reunion might not be most likely option, this would play right for the Cowboys' favor, as they would most certainly outbid the Saints for Taylor. Let me tell you something. Now, we got love for Alontae Taylor. I love the double thumbs down celebration. No doubt about that. But at the end of the day, man, when it comes down to Alontae wants to get paid. And like I said, man, Alontae Taylor is a hell of a tackling cornerback, a defensive back rather. He's a guy that's smart, but and he loves the blitz. He loves it. He's a really solid open field tackler. We brought Alontae Taylor and made him a solid cornerback in the Saints team. The issue with Alontae Taylor is that he doesn't get interceptions. He get a pick a year. That's not good enough to command top-notch money. You get what I'm saying? If they pay you for sacks, they pay you for touchdowns, they pay you for picks. He doesn't have enough picks and get a pick a year. That is not going to spike your value unless you have a couple of teams that's going to artificially inflate his value. The bottom line is the Saints is not afraid of that. If the Saints are not afraid to allow the market to dictate Alontae Taylor's value, because I'm pretty sure that if they feel like he'll get priced out, that they can find somebody else in free agency. I know that might sound a little cocky and arrogant, but that's the NFL, right? The Saints had all last year to be able to negotiate a contract extension with Alontae Taylor. In actuality, they could have tabled talks with Chris Olave and dealt exclusively with Alontae Taylor before free agency hit. I'm gonna say it again for the people in the back, for my pro Alontae Taylor people. I'm gonna say it again. The Saints had all of last year and the year before. If they really wanted to sign Alontae Taylor, there was no talks about Alontae Taylor. And the Saints allowed it to get all the way through the season, into offseason, and he's lining up unrestricted on them. Now, I know they're not going to franchise tag him. They ain't going to do that. So in the end, the Saints are poised or positioned. Their posture is not a worrying one. They're trying to extend Chris Olave, who's going to earn $20+ million a year. So it's like his contract, Chris Olave's either 4 or 5, probably like a 4 or 5, it'd probably be like a 5-year deal to ink him for the next 10 years. It's going to be a 4 or 5-year deal estimated over $20 million. It won't be 20 like you'd be like a 5-year deal worth $100 million. It won't be that. He wants, I'm telling you what he wants. He's going to want something north of $22 million a season. That's what you're looking at. So you're looking at a 4 or 5-year deal estimated at $128 million for Chris Olave. That's what the Saints were looking at. And like I said, they picked up the option on Chris, and they'll pay him $15 million in his final year, barring they extend out. But if they really wanted Alontae Taylor, they could have made arrangements. They could have tabled the talks with Chris Olave and negotiated with Alontae Taylor during the season, before the season. They are poised from a posture standpoint to losing them, and I don't think the Saints are going to overpay to keep Alontae Taylor. I made the previous show. Would you think that they'll pay Alontae Taylor $18 million a year like Paulson Adebo got when he took the money from the Giants and ran? If that number is close to like Alontae Taylor, they're not going to pay Alontae Taylor that kind of money. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. They aren't going to do it. They're not going to do that. That's why they're allowing the market to dictate his value. If it's inflated enough, if they have to lose him, they'll say, okay, just like they did with Paulson Adebo and replace them with other talent. They're confident about that. So, like I said, man, he's the only one that I see like he could possibly be on out the door, and the Saints could look into free agency, or they can look into the draft. You'll have either two options if they let him go and they want to replace him with another defensive back in the draft. There are two guys that likely could be available. Caleb Downs from Ohio State, who can play safety and he can step in for a nickel. He does basically, if you watch the film, I showed it to y'all on Patreon. He can play the nickel position. He can play the safety position. He loves to come down and blitz. He's a better ball hawking safety, meaning he gets his hand on the ball. He's a better athlete, and he gets interceptions. Mansour Delaney is the other option for the Saints as well. He's the best cornerback in the draft from LSU. He's a big physical cornerback, intelligent, has speed, and would fit well with what the Saints got going on. So at the end of the day, we have options. But like I said, he's the Saint that I think out of the, that we was going to lose. It's quite obvious. Like we traded away Rashid Shaheed, what the Saints going to do with him, whatever. So they're going to pay Chris Olave. They're going to eventually pay him. They're going to pay Cam Jordan and DeMario to come back for an extra year. They're going to pick up some of these other guys like Jonah Williams and Chris Rump II and Bullard. They're going to pick some of these guys up. I do believe that. Jonathan Bullard. I think they're going to pick some of these men up and bring them back to the team because they brought these guys in. These guys knew the system in the game, and they really helped out from a backup standpoint. They were so solid for the Saints this past year. I think they earned agreements just like Julius Blackmon did. So I anticipate them getting their deal signed as well, too, to come back to play for to pay for the coach. But you never know. Jonah Williams, he might find somewhere else. Somebody might give him a little extra money. We'd be lucky to bring some of these guys back. But Jonah Williams had 3 sacks in the defense. He was playing inside, outside. He was such a help for them. Like I said, they picked this guy up. He's perfect for the system. Jonathan Bullitt, the veteran, he was real special. Love what he did for the Saints as well when guys were getting hurt. And of course, like John Ridgeway was the guy the Saints gave up picks to bring big John Ridgeway back. Does he return as well? 6'5", 321 pound plus. And Chris Rump II was another guy they brought in who knows the system. He had a couple of sacks as well, works on special teams. So in the end, they have guys, inexpensive talent there they can bring back. But at some point, if you're the New Orleans Saints, you're saying, man, could we really afford that guy? Or do we need to pivot and go in a different direction from that standpoint? So like I said, it's going to be interesting moving on and doing what it do like it usually is all the time with the Saints, right? But it simply is what it is. Saints 20.3 plus in the red, and they'll start restructuring some of these contracts. I've already told you and get this stuff down so they can start building. But they're excited. You can see some of the early moves the Saints are making. They're very excited about this upcoming season. They have a vision and a focus. They have an identity. They know what areas they need to improve upon. And listen, they do this right. They can have a similar progression. Like I asked you guys not too long ago, can the Saints have a quantum leap like we've seen the New England Patriots have? The Patriots did it pretty much in one season, right? They had one off season, the draft, and then they built the team, added free agents, and look where good coaching took them to where they needed to be. They had really good players and rookies and everything. Henderson was really big for them. He was really special. Drake May did his thing as well. Diggs was out there doing his thing. So the team stepped up even from a defensive standpoint and were able to do what they were supposed to do. So can the Saints in the second year kind of have that kind of New England Patriot success that we've seen them having this year and build forward with a good solid draft? Because they have identity offensively speaking. If they add the proper players, more help in a wide receiver room, fortify the tight end position, add the proper depth, because that is where the offensive line resituating and building the internal the working matrix of the Saints offensive line at the left guard, right guard position, fortifying the center with depth, and adding help to the running back room, to go along with that. And that's pretty much all of the pieces there. Why not? Why not? They couldn't have success. We in a division that's kind of a struggle factory right now. The Saints could take it and start off the season and handle some business, man, and kind of fortify that thing. We also need some help in the quarterback room with Spencer Rattler, whether the Saints go with a veteran there or take a quarterback late in the draft could be interesting. We'll see where guys like Diego Pavia or Drew Allar or Cade Klubnik, where they fall at. A lot of people might see them, depending on how they are in their pro day, because they had really bad seasons. Not nothing what they had the previous year, so their stock has dropped. But with them entry, you got Trinidad Chambliss. He's trying to win his, his next year, his 6th year of eligibility to get back at Ole Miss, and they didn't grant it yet, so he'll be. If they don't grant it, he got to go to the pros. He's out of eligibility. So, like I said, man, it's going to be interesting to see what we got going on for this upcoming season. But the veterans like DeMario and Cam see something special that they want a part of. Do the Saints say, hey, man, let's go and just plug these holes right quick and go and see if we can put this stuff together? Do they do that? It'll be interesting to see, because I like how they're moving so far, man. Getting Julian Blackmon early, helping out the secondary. Who else is next? We seen them pick up, the wide receiver. We seen him sign him, Moose Alford, the big wide receiver. We seen him pick him up. We've heard about some of these other players that are very, very excited. We talk about Tyler Shuck going and training with Drew Brees, throwing the ball with the wide receivers, and getting Drew Brees' training acumen and Tyler Shuck's body strong, his athleticism, and his 20. And remember, this is not just some young kid. Tyler Shuck is 26 years old. You know, he's basically like I ain't gonna see his senior season, but when you got guys in quarterbacks that are 21, 22, this sort of thing, he's 26 years old, and he's a mature 26 years old. He sounds like an old man up there talking, like he a granddad up there, a young granddad, right? When you listen to the interviews, he's very wise, got good temperament, and he's very mature for his age. He got a very good understanding of life as a quarterback. He believed like, hell, I'm not supposed to be here anyway. Based on what they're telling me, let's just have fun and see where it goes. He's loose. He understands the seriousness of what he got going on, and he's just having fun and playing football. And we're excited to see that because it's a winning blend. We got an identity. We just need to plug some holes and see what we can do for this upcoming season. So this is going to be a very refreshing, interesting, and fun off season. We haven't had one of those in a while, and it's good to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And perhaps the Saints can have that moment where they kind of jump through and get there quicker than what we anticipated them getting it. For them finishing like they did, that showed me that they got an identity offensively and defensively. That right there was half the battle. So the losses had to count for something. That's what they got out of it. Now the upcoming season mean that the Saints can step forward with a lot of positives and close the day. Right. And that's a good thing. So anyway, listen, fam, I'm going to get out on that. I appreciate you guys listening at me on this Wednesday edition of the Coma. Please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and shout out to FanDuel, the official sponsor of the Sports Coma. Check out FanDuel on the app and go ahead on and check them out. Remember, you got to be 18, at least 21 years of age to gamble on the app. But man, listen, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's still an NFL playoffs, there's basketball, there's all kind of stuff going on. Go on FanDuel and check them out, man. The official sponsor of the Coma. So anyway, with that being said, man, I'm going to hop out on that. I appreciate y'all. Shout out to our YouTube membership family, our Patreon family members. Like I said, we're building up our Patreon, man. On Cue with Big Q is our real deal news show that's available on Patreon. You can only see it on Patreon. We got the Oil War Continues, part 2 of the oil game that we've been talking about. A lot of good information that's in there. A lot of game about the oil. Part 3 will be coming out next Tuesday at 5 o'clock on Patreon. Also for our YouTube membership and Patreon champions, TSC Patreon, which is the third mock draft installment with video and breakdown from players, is up and available for you guys in our locked comment section for Patreon and YouTube members, man. So we doing our damn thing. With that being said, man, y'all have a beautiful rest of y'all afternoon. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. I'm going to holler at you on the next one. Much love, peace, and who
Whether you're catching up on Saints news at Jackson Square, checking Pelicans scores in the Garden District, or staying updated on LSU while grabbing coffee in the French Quarter, there's one place that keeps you connected to everything that matters in our city. From Bourbon Street to the Superdome, from Preservation Hall to the Riverfront, New Orleanians are staying in the know with thewhodatdaily.com. Your daily source for Saints, Pelicans, LSU, and all the sports, music, and culture that makes our city special. At work downtown, at a game in the Dome, or just relaxing by the Mississippi, wherever life takes you in the Big Easy, you can stay connected. Because when you're from New Orleans, you don't just live here. You stay in the NO. That's stay in the know. Visit the WhoDatDaily.com and never miss what matters most to Who Dat Nation.
Welcome to the Pro Shop, where we create authentic NOLA-inspired clothing for men, women, and children. From Saints jerseys to Pelicans gear, everything's crafted right here in New Orleans. Whether you're shopping the Pro Shop, the Pel Shop, or the Pro Shop Kids, we've got your whole family covered with genuine merchandise that represents our city's spirit. Check for links in the description section below or in the